Lies, stealing, and Miami girls, Vanderpump Rules has had some wild moments, but if there's one thing we can take away from the show, it's that it's not about the damn pasta. One of the first WTF moments on Vanderpump Rules happened during Season 1, when the cast went to Vegas to celebrate Stassi Schroeder's 24th birthday. Schroeder takes her birthdays very seriously, and this year was no different. But what made things interesting was that Schroeder had been on the outs with then-boyfriend Jax Taylor at the time, so she took another bartender named Frank as her date instead. Taylor still showed up to the bar where they were celebrating, which led to a huge fight.
How dare you ruin my birthday like this?
What are you trying to prove?
How dare you?
While drinks were spilled on Schroeder and Tom Schwartz inside, it was outside the bar where a more intense brawl erupted, with Taylor and Tom Sandoval going after Frank. Taylor later told Bravo's blog about how things turned physical with Frank, saying, "I think I initiated it with my comments and my outburst, although he did say something to me when I walked in, and that kind of fueled me." Sandoval gave his take too, explaining, "I had so much pent-up anger towards Frank and felt so betrayed. Once we started arguing, it escalated quickly." The production crew stopped the fight, but not before Sandoval, Taylor, and Frank had all strangely removed their shirts and sweaters. Sandoval later joked about it, saying, "I took my shirt off because it was really hot in Vegas, and also to show off my great tan. Not my proudest moment."
I feel like this is my only play to get Stassi back. This is what I have to do.
Despite denying it for the entire first season of Vanderpump Rules, Jax Taylor finally admitted to his former girlfriend, Stassi Schroeder, that he had cheated on her during a trip to Vegas and got another woman pregnant.
I sent her some money. I never heard from her again.
In true VPR fashion, Taylor's confession was heavy on all the dramatics, with him sitting Schroeder down at SUR after quitting his job there. Schroeder may not have been shocked, but still didn't take it well.
You spent the past 2 months lying to me, lying to my best friends, when you were the piece of shit the whole entire time.
In a special episode of Vanderpump Rules Uncensored, Taylor revealed that he finally decided to own up to his cheating because he felt the fans of the show should know the truth about him and his issues with sex. He admitted, "If there would have been a hole in the wall, I would probably try to have sex with it." It seems Jax Taylor had once again started the drama by telling Stassi Schroeder that he had slept with Kristen twice. Once while Doty's then-boyfriend Tom Sandoval was asleep nearby.
She slept with me, we slept together twice, it's over, once at hers, once at mine, there's nothing else.
You know what?
This, of course, led Schroeder to call Doty out in front of Taylor and Sandoval. Swears were exchanged and Schroeder backhanded Doty, marking one of the most infamous moments in the show's history.
You are a dirty whore.
The reality TV guru even tweeted, "I was so shook when this aired live. The slap heard round the world." Doty later admitted to sleeping with Taylor and said on that season's reunion episode that she deserved to be slapped by Schroeder.
Stassi, I'm sorry, I know it's not good enough, but like...
Schroeder acknowledged that slapping her wasn't right, although she struggled with her feelings.
I go back and forth between knowing that that's wrong. You did so much worse. You destroyed everything.
Looking back on the slap much later, Schroeder told Hollywood Life that she was embarrassed by the whole thing because she let her emotions get the best of her. She explained, "I do not condone violence. My brain was not connected to my hand. I don't know what to say." Tom Schwartz and Katie Maloney's relationship had its fair share of drama, but pouring a drink on your significant other's head is taking things to a whole other level. That did happen, though, when the cast went to Mexico during Season 2 for Stassi Schroeder's birthday. Schwartz and Maloney got into a fight after Scheana Shay suggested Maloney had a drinking problem.
Your fault!
Maloney was visibly upset, explaining to her friends what he would have to do for her to forgive him.
You better be on his knees, like licking my toes.
When looking back at the incident, however, Maloney told Bravo that she did eventually get her revenge.
I punished him by withholding his back rubs and head rubs.
I don't make her give me back rubs.
Schwartz has since apologized, and often.
I have thoroughly. I do it on a weekly basis.
If Ariana weren't in the picture, I think Tom and I would still stand a chance of being together.
It's safe to say Kristen Doty was not happy when her ex-boyfriend Tom Sandoval moved on with fellow bartender Ariana Madix, since she was apparently obsessed with proving that he cheated on Madix. Doty went as far as to meet up with a woman who claimed to have slept with Sandoval when he was in Miami, so they could plan a confrontation with him and Madix at SUR.
I know that I'm broken up with Tom. I know James and I are together, and I know it's probably none of my damn business, but I made it my business.
For Doty, it seemed more important for her to prove that Sandoval was a liar than it was for her to not look, well, kind of unhinged. The confrontation didn't seem to go as planned either, since Madix and Sandoval ended up just leaving together, yet Doty was still pleased.
You're confronted by the girl that you slept with, and then he just bolts? Like, guilty as charged.
Sandoval, for his part, has denied ever hooking up with the woman known as Miami Girl, telling Us Weekly, "I can make up something about anybody and then end up on our show." Maddox said she would have done things differently.
I do regret, I guess, just not fully calling out the whole real story.
While the Miami Girl moment was entertaining, what happened after that was just as over the top, as Scheana Shay confronted Kristen Doty for bringing the woman to SUR. That unsurprisingly turned into a full-on screaming match between them, since Shay didn't like Doty getting involved with her friend's relationship. All that chaos got the attention of the restaurant's manager, Diana DeCheva, who told Doty she needed to stop yelling and leave.
Diana, walk away. If you don't own the restaurant, move your ass. Leave. Walk the away. Bye.
Fans weren't the only ones flabbergasted that Doty would speak to her boss that way. Restaurant owner Lisa Vanderpump called her out on it. Doty refused to apologize at the time, and instead blamed Miami Girl.
We know because that girl came in, that's what happened, that's why the drama started.
Vanderpump didn't buy that and fired Doty on the spot. Although Doty later told E! that she was ready to leave SUR anyway, she revealed that she really did feel bad for what she said to DeCheva. "I apologized to her profusely, both as my friend and as my manager. I knew I was completely out of line and reacted impulsively toward her that day." Kristen Doty's relationship with Tom Sandoval may have been messy, but her romance with James Kennedy was downright explosive. One of their more shocking fights happened during Scheana Shay's wedding to Mike Shay, when Doty decided to leave early because she felt Kennedy was drinking too much. Kennedy seemingly didn't want to let that happen and followed Doty out into the parking lot, where he found her standing with her trainer. It was in the parking lot where things escalated, with a drunken Kennedy getting in Doty and her trainer's face.
You're f***ing unmanageable, babe. You're unmanageable. That's why you're 31 and you're never gonna find a guy to marry you.
While it appeared that Doty did try to walk away, Kennedy continued to follow her, which led to Doty slapping him in the face, twice. Doty later told Hollywood Life that she wasn't proud she resorted to violence. "What I do defend is the fact that it wasn't at the wedding. James was clearly intoxicated, and I was really just trying to get away from it." She went on to say that Kennedy was harassing her way longer than was shown on TV, adding, "James wouldn't let me walk away. He was a little too aggressive for me, and that's what made me snap." It seems Scheana Shay's Season 3 wedding was full of drama for the Vanderpump Rules cast, particularly Katie Maloney and her then-boyfriend Tom Schwartz. Viewers and Maloney thought a proposal was about to happen, but were met with disappointment when it turned out to be a ring necklace instead. Maloney later explained on Bravo's website why she was so upset, dishing, "In conversations past, Tom and I talked about the idea of wearing rings on a necklace. I scoffed at the idea, as I thought it defeats the purpose and sentiment of a ring."
Putting a ring on a
but don't think too much about it.
Putting it around my neck saying I love
It's
you.
not a string, it's a gold necklace.
I'm committed to you is not really what a girl pushing 30 wants to hear.
Maloney then discussed it with Lisa Vanderpump, who was worried that she was settling since Schwartz wasn't giving her what she wanted. Maloney even wrote, "I felt like it was a pacifier without really having to make commitments. I had been so patient and understanding with Tom, but did this all come with cost?" Schwartz later defended the gift on the Vanderpump Rules after show, despite Jax Taylor and Tom Sandoval ribbing him for giving his girlfriend a fake engagement ring at someone else's wedding.
I went in there, with sincere intentions. I thought it was cute. I put a lot of thought into it. It had a custom, it said Bubba on it.
Vanderpump Rules fans were stunned when Scheana Shay asked her then-husband Mike Shay for a divorce, since they had seemed to be in a good place. In fact, Scheana herself seemed to be surprised about it.
The beginning of 2016, everything was genuinely good, and then the cameras turned on again, and then he changed.
She went on to explain, "Other people around me had noticed a change in his behavior. I was either oblivious to it or I just didn't want to believe what I was seeing." That change was apparently caused by Shay's prescription pill abuse, which fans got insight into when Scheana opened up to her boss Lisa Vanderpump about it. Vanderpump pointed out what Scheana already knew, which was that Shay had been hiding his drug problem from her. He had apparently cleared her bank account too, which had made things even worse. Scheana then sat Shay down and asked him for a divorce through tears.
"This relationship needs to be done on paper, legally, emotionally, physically, in every way."
Scheana later revealed to E! that Shay's continued lies were the final straw. She dished, "The second I found out he was still lying to me, and had been for 6 to 8 months, I was done. I couldn't ever move forward with him when so much trust had been broken." While it probably isn't astonishing that Jax Taylor eventually got himself arrested, it was how it all went down that was pretty jarring. Vanderpump Rules might not have shown the moment Taylor was taken into custody for stealing sunglasses from a store, but his then-girlfriend, now wife, Brittany Cartwright, broke the news to the others on camera.
He told me that it was, for a felony charge and it was still under investigation.
If you can't understand why Taylor stole sunglasses, neither could the rest of the cast. At that point in his TV career, he presumably had enough money to pay for them. Taylor told Cartwright the next day it was because he was drunk. He even reiterated that to the judge when he went to court, saying, "I had too many drinks, too many Mai Tais. I made a mistake, took full responsibility, and I understand this is going to follow me the rest of my life due to the fact that I'm on television." Although the incident had to be embarrassing for Taylor, he revealed to the Daily Dish that some good came of it because it had humbled him. He admitted, "I kind of needed to be knocked down a little bit. The Hawaii thing was a perfect example. My ego was getting a little out of control." Lisa Vanderpump's husband, Ken Todd, may not get that much screen time on Vanderpump Rules, but that doesn't mean he's never had his own memorable moment on the show. We're talking about the time he threatened James Kennedy after Vanderpump fired him from SUR for his bad behavior. Kennedy had been taking shots at the bar during his shift before he decided to confront Vanderpump and Todd outside the restaurant. It was then that Todd and Vanderpump scolded Kennedy for being drunk at SUR. Kennedy initially denied it, but then he began crying.
Lisa, stop! He's gonna get mad at me!
Don't you understand, James?
Ken scares the out of me.
Kennedy's fear turned out to be justified, especially once he began raising his voice and swearing at Vanderpump.
What? What? Ken,
I'll knock you spark out!
It seems that Todd wasn't just upset that Kennedy was yelling at his wife, but was probably also concerned with how Kennedy's behavior was impacting his restaurant business. Todd had his own personal relationship with Kennedy as well. He was the DJ's music manager. Todd had reportedly been close with Kennedy's father, which is why the couple appears to have a soft spot for him, even if they occasionally need to put him in his place. If you think Jax Taylor only cheated on Stassi Schroeder, think again. It seemed that Taylor had really changed for Brittany Cartwright, so fans were dumbfounded when he admitted to cheating on her with Faith Stowers. When Cartwright asked him flat out if they'd had sex, Taylor at first tried to justify it.
It was when we were going through bad times.
I don't
It was
care.
about what was going on in our relationship, and
Oh, it's not about that!
Cartwright was, of course, devastated, telling Taylor that she hoped it was worth it. Taylor revealed in the show's confessional what drove him to be truthful with Cartwright.
This isn't my first time being caught cheating. You know, in the past, I've gone through months and months of deny, and that didn't work out for me.
It was also something he apparently didn't think he'd have to deal with, considering that he said he didn't think Stowers was going to rat him out. Eventually, Taylor did show some remorse for his actions, telling Us Weekly, "I really regret what I did. It was just a huge mistake that we are actually working out right now." They presumably did work it out because they went on to tie the knot 2 years later. Jax Taylor wasn't the only cheater in the Vanderpump Rules cast. Tom Schwartz had a few slip-ups of his own when he was with his now ex-wife Katie Maloney. The first had happened before they were married, when he went to Las Vegas with Taylor. A rumor had started among the group that Schwartz had slept with Taylor's then-girlfriend's best friend there. When Taylor later threatened to spill the beans, Schwartz decided to come clean to Maloney on camera. While Schwartz admitted to cheating, he insisted that he and the girl in question had only made out.
It was sleazy and it was gross. I was shit-faced. I didn't even really remember. I had to call the next day and ask her.
Schwartz tried to defend himself by saying that he had doubts about their relationship at the time, but Maloney wasn't having it.
It's awesome that my boyfriend can only be honest with me when someone else is threatening to do it for him. I can't believe that he lied to me.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the only time Schwartz couldn't keep his lips to himself, considering that Lala Kent dropped another bomb after they were married. In a 2018 episode, she revealed to Ariana Madix and Scheana Shay that he had hooked up with one of her friends.
They made out, he was like touchy-feely.
Schwartz owned up to that one too, but had no memory of it.
Knowing that I hurt someone I love so much, it's really embarrassing.
It can probably be said that no Vanderpump Rules fan expected James Kennedy and Lala Kent to get into an explosive argument over pasta, but that's sort of what happened during season 6. It all started when Kent joked about eating the pasta Kennedy's then-girlfriend Raquel Leviss had ordered at one of his DJ gigs. That apparently set Kennedy off.
You've always been a towards Raquel.
Are you really saying that because I told you I ate her pasta?
Kennedy then followed Kent outside after she stormed off. He then went off on one of the show's most famous rants.
It ain't about the damn pasta. Get over the damn pasta. Read between the f***ing lines. It ain't about the pasta. It's not about the pasta!
While Kennedy insisted in the confessional that the fight was caused by Kent not respecting his girlfriend, there were other interpretations. In fact, there was a rumor via Watch What Happens Live that pasta was a code word for cocaine. But Kent explained on Jenny McCarthy's SiriusXM show that, quote, "It was legitimately pasta. I'm not a drug person, so I was actually very offended."